You know what's strange? Some people don't hate people. They don't even hate attention in the obvious way. They can be warm, talented, even magnetic when safe. But the second they feel watched, labeled, interpreted, or noticed, something inside them shuts down. Their face feels like a screen everyone can read. And the weirdest part? They may not want to disappear because they feel worthless. They may want to disappear because being perceived feels like being reduced. Stay with me because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see the need to be unseen. You're walking into a room and nothing dramatic happens. No one points, no one laughs. But you feel the air change anyway. The scrape of chairs, someone glancing up, the fluorescent hum, the smell of coffee sitting too long. Suddenly, your walk has choreography. Your hands don't know where to go. You become aware of your shirt, your posture, the volume of your breathing. And then the mental narration starts. Did I look awkward? Was that too much eye contact? Why did I breathe like that? So you choose the seat where fewer people can see you. You want connection, but not the spotlight that comes with existing near people. Psychologists call one part of this the spotlight effect. In a 2000 paper in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, Thomas Golovich, Victoria Medvec, and Kenneth Savitsky found that people tend to overestimate how much others notice their appearance and behavior. Basically, your brain thinks you're on a stage while everyone else is busy starring in their own movie. That awkward sentence, that tiny stumble, that weird expression you think betrayed your entire soul. To you, it becomes breaking news. To everyone else, it's a background detail they probably forgot before lunch. This is why you can logically know nobody cares and still feel exposed. Logic is saying, they're not watching you. Your nervous system is saying, but what if they are? The spotlight effect turns ordinary existence into performance. Sending a voice note becomes a public speech. Walking past a group becomes a runway. You're not dramatic. Your brain is miscalculating the size of the audience, but here's where it gets interesting. For some people, the pain isn't just being noticed, it's being misunderstood while being noticed. Because once someone perceives you, they can simplify you. They can decide you're shy, rude, weird, cold, arrogant, intense, boring, too quiet, too much. Suddenly you're not a full person anymore. You're a version of yourself trapped inside someone else's quick opinion. Psychologists call this fear of negative evaluation. David Watson and Ronald Friend measured social evaluative anxiety back in 1969, focusing on the distress people feel around being judged by others. It's not just fear of criticism, it's fear of becoming an object in someone else's mind, pinned under glass with a label you didn't write. This is why compliments can feel uncomfortable too. People think, but it's positive attention. Sure, but it's still attention. If someone says, you're so quiet, now you have to either perform quietness or prove you're not. If someone says, you're so talented, now your next attempt feels like a test. Even admiration can become a cage when you're sensitive to being defined. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Being perceived can create pressure because social presence changes your arousal level. Robert Zionk's classic 1965 work on social facilitation argued that the mere presence of others can increase arousal, which may improve simple, well-practiced tasks but make complex or unfamiliar ones harder. Translation: if you already know what you're doing, an audience might energize you. But if you're uncertain, vulnerable, or still figuring yourself out, an audience can scramble your system. That's why you can sing beautifully alone but freeze when someone says, "Do it for us." It's why you can write a brilliant message, then delete it when you imagine someone reading it with the wrong tone. It's why you can be yourself in private, but as soon as you're observed, you start managing every pixel of your personality. Presence adds weight. A simple action becomes heavier because now it has witnesses. And for highly self-aware people, that weight gets multiplied. Clark and Wells' cognitive model of social anxiety describes self-focused attention, where a person becomes so focused on how they might be coming across that they lose access to the actual moment. Rapey and Heimberg's 1997 model also explains how socially anxious people can build a mental image of how they think others see them, then react to that image as if it's reality. Notice how cruel that loop is. You're not just talking to a person, you're talking while monitoring your face, your tone, your timing, your body language, and the imaginary review they're writing in their head. It's like trying to dance while watching a security camera feed of yourself. Of course you feel stiff. You're not experiencing life from behind your eyes anymore. You're experiencing yourself from across the room. But wait, it gets weirder because sometimes hating being perceived comes from having a very strong inner world. Some people feel most real when they're alone. Their private self is nuanced, unfinished, and alive. Then the outside world comes in with blunt categories. Introvert, awkward, mysterious, stuck, up. Smart one, quiet one. And something in them recoils because the label is too small for the amount of life inside. This connects to self-presentation theory, especially the work of Mark Leary and Robin Kowalski. Their model says social anxiety often happens when you strongly want to make a certain impression, but doubt your ability to pull it off. In normal language, you care about being seen accurately, but you don't trust the room to read you correctly. So you retreat, not because you have nothing to show, but because you have too much that could be flattened, and now we have to get honest. For some people, this isn't peace, it's hiding. There's a healthy version of wanting privacy. It protects your energy, creativity, and inner life. It lets you choose who gets access to you, but there's also a trauma version where being seen once meant being mocked, controlled, corrected, compared, or punished. Maybe attention never felt warm, it felt dangerous. So now your nervous system treats visibility like a threat. That distinction matters. Privacy says, I choose when to share myself. Fear says, if anyone sees me, I'm not safe. One feels like a boundary, the other feels like a prison with soft walls. And the hard truth is that disappearing can protect you from judgment, but it can also protect you from being loved accurately. It can keep you away from the few eyes gentle enough to see you clearly. So no, you're not broken. You're wired for depth over noise. You're not antisocial. You're selective with your exposure. You're not arrogant for not wanting constant attention. You may just have a nervous system that understands attention is not neutral. It can nourish, but it can also consume. It can recognize you, but it can also reduce you. Maybe the real reframe is this: you don't hate being perceived. You hate being captured inaccurately. You hate when people turn your living, changing self into a snapshot and act like the snapshot is the whole person. That's not weakness, that's a longing for precision. You want to be seen with context, with patience, with softness. You want someone to notice without grabbing, to understand without naming too quickly, to be present without making you perform. And maybe healing isn't becoming someone who loves the spotlight. Maybe it's finding places where being seen doesn't feel like being consumed. One friend who lets silence exist, one room where you don't have to edit your face. One person who doesn't turn every detail into a definition. Little by little, perception stops feeling like exposure and starts feeling like contact. Being unseen is peaceful, but being truly seen is something deeper. The goal was never to vanish. The goal was to be witnessed without being wounded. And when that finally happens, you don't feel trapped inside someone else's gaze. You feel quietly allowed to exist. If this hit home, subscribe. If you want to support these deep dives, hit the join button. And if this resonated, watch the psychology of people who disappear when they're overwhelmed.